Well, hello, hello, hello. What is going on, everybody? Welcome in. Welcome to the live stream, Lineman Life. Here we go. Uh, Pretty sure that everybody in the football world kind of knows what's going on right now with this signing of Tim Tebow in Jacksonville. We're going to get into that, talk a little bit about that. I've got some perspectives, shall we say. But appreciate you guys for coming in here today. I already see we got a super chat. RC from NYC, that's awesome, dude. Appreciate you very much. RC from NYC says, what's up, Uche? What's up, chat? Hope everyone is good. So Tebow left the Mets to play for Urban Meyer. Hilarious. And I kind of agree with you. That is a hilarious notion. But I think that there's a lot about football culture, a little bit of the underbelly of it that I think personally has a lot to do with this signing, more so than any amount of skill that Tim Tebow might have as a tight end or H-back or whatever they're claiming is going to be the scenario for him. But full disclosure, for those of you who don't know, I've already had like my own little thing with Tim Tebow. I did a video on this early last year, the Tim Tebow incident, and that basically was a whole. This was back in 2010, I think it was, right before he got drafted, actually, or was it? Yeah, I think it was right before he got drafted, and we had a little situation there. I'll go into the article that actually talks about that, and let you guys kind of take a look and come to your own conclusions. But definitely a lot of players talking about this. And, I think that the sentiment around the NFL right now is that this is one of those just little hookups. This is a hookup signing from the Jags. And, I hate to say that everything that I thought would happen is kind of happening in Jacksonville, because I've seen this kind of thing play out before. I've seen it play out before in Jacksonville. That's why when Urban Meyer was hired, I didn't like the hire. And, I told people why I didn't like the hire. It was a sexy hire to make. It was the most sexy hire to make. I mean, obviously, that's going to bring a lot of fanfare to Jacksonville because Urban Meyer coached at Florida. He won championships at Florida. And, that's really one of the biggest priorities, whether they want to admit it or not. That's the biggest priority that they have in Jacksonville right now. Putting butts in seats. And, I think that is a crucial element in having familiar faces in the franchise. And they've been doing that. Now, as it pertains to Tebow, I mean, I think that's the best you get out of him, is that you get more fans coming to the game because you signed him. I don't think that you get anything else that you couldn't get in an undrafted free agent to do, whatever it is that they're saying that he's going to do. I mean, there's really, who knows, right? Who knows? But a lot of players have been talking about it. Dez Bryant was had a very strong opinion about this when it was announced yesterday. And I don't disagree with anything Dez Bryant said there. As a matter of fact, let's go ahead. Let's take a look at that situation in and of itself. And we'll start with my full disclosure, because this is actually the article that kind of goes through what happened with me, even though I've never met Tebow. I've been around him like one time, but I never met him. Never said a word to him. Don't know the dude. But this article here goes into the whole situation because at a time, and I think this is where my unique position comes in when talking about this topic, is that I actually was in Jacksonville and actually went through an entire phase of our offseason where this was the primary question about whether or not we were going to sign Tim Tebow or draft Tim Tebow. And our owner at the time, Wayne Weaver, was actually interested in that idea. Now, I think cooler heads prevailed, and they realized that that's really not the move to make. But, we had a ton of fans in Jacksonville who that is what they wanted. They wanted Tim Tebow. So this has been the pipe dream that they've had for a decade now that's finally coming true. They're getting Tim Tebow. When it was me, and when I was in Jacksonville, I did a little breakdown on just my Monday morning quarterback assessment of the guy's game because I didn't watch the Florida Gators. But we'll go through this article real quick. It says plenty of people in Jacksonville would love to see quarterback Tim Tebow become one of the newest members of the Jaguars. One of them isn't current Jaguars offensive lineman Uche Nwaneri, who has 28 starts over the past 2 seasons. So this was going into my 3rd season. Was it? I think. Yeah. This was going into my 3rd season. In a posting on the team's official message board. So this was on the forums, on the Jaguar forums. This was really like before tweeting and all of that. So it was the forums. Any nerds out there, anybody who was into any kind of social media at that time back in 2010, you were getting on forums more than you were getting on Twitter. So, Twitter was literally, I think, just coming around, just like came into existence at this point. But, that was the main way to communicate with fans. That was the main way to communicate with fans, where you could actually have a back and forth and have conversations. And I was known to be lurking on the forums. I was always lurking on the forums. I'll drop a comment here or there, and then that sparks a conversation up with fans, and then we go and we talk. So this was nothing new at this point. This was like me. I'm always around, on the forums. So they asked me questions about Tim Tebow, and I just was like, I took a deep breath, and I was like, I'm going to give you guys exactly how I assess it as somebody who is in the NFL and has seen over the last few years what it takes in terms of being a quarterback, the kind of things that you need to be able to do at the minimum to be able to compete in the NFL. I just didn't see it for Tim Tebow. Now, we'll continue on here. It says in a posting on the team's official message board, the 3-year veteran was candid in his assessment of the former Florida quarterback. Here's Nwaneri's 5-point breakdown. Number 5, he can't throw, period. All caps. Number 4, he can't read any coverage other than probably cover 2 or man coverage, period. The only coverage in college, LOL. Which is true. Even to this day, I glance at college football games every here and there, and they're still just running like the basic defenses. Like, you're running man coverage or you're running cover 2. That's it. I'm like, come on. Like, y'all are really like, not even like the defensive scheme in college has not evolved at all in the last decade. But my 3rd point on my 5-point breakdown, the QB Wildcat will not work in this league, period. Which everybody remembers. Miami Dolphins were running Wildcat. This was like 2009, 2010. And, when you have those kind of like gimmicky, quirky, off the, just kind of alternative football schemes that you bring in and they have some success in the NFL, it usually takes one full offseason for the defenses in the NFL to actually adjust to it. And then you don't see that kind of shit work anymore. It doesn't really work. You can't do it with any consistency. You have to play football. You can't run Wildcat. The Miami Dolphins ran all over everybody in the NFL running Wildcat. Lamar Jackson ran all over everybody in the NFL running Wildcat or running run pass option, but in more of that Baltimore style was more like a power O. They were like a power offense. They did that for an entire season, and it was hard for teams to stop him. And you saw Lamar Jackson's throwing ability thrive because of that indecision that he caused with those fakes at the line of scrimmage in those formations. But once defenses had a whole offseason to break it down and to dissect how to actually apply pressure to it, what happened last year? Nothing. You rarely saw them be able to just run the ball down people's throats. Lamar Jackson had to throw the ball more, and he wasn't as accurate throwing the ball more last year. Not terrible, but not as good as he was the year before when he had that play action presence because of the style that they ran with. They don't get that anymore. So it really does put a team that doesn't have a quarterback that can actually be a passer as well as a runner, like you see more of those becoming a thing these days. If you don't have that, it's hard to win. And the Ravens are suffering that right now. It's hard to win. That's why they're trying to get receivers in there. That's why they drafted multiple receivers. They're trying to give Lamar Jackson help because they have to be able to use him correctly, or it's not going to work for them. They have to be able to use him correctly. He has to have receivers that can keep safeties out of the box so that they can actually run those run pass options without having to face 9-man boxes every first and second down. But let's continue on here. 2, he doesn't know how to take snap from center, nor is he even comfortable enough to. That was a little weird the way I wrote that, but this was 10 years ago. He can't throw, and that's really something you either have or not. You either have or you don't. Never seen a QB who couldn't ever throw just all of a sudden be able to throw just because he's now in the NFL. And it says, so there you have it on the very site owned by the team, owned by a man who has made clear his interest in acquiring Tebow's rights. One of the team's fairly important employees has offered a contrary opinion in very strong terms. So, like I said, those of you who know me at this point, who have seen enough of my interactions, that I'm just going to tell you how I feel. I don't know how to, I ain't going to hype nothing up, but I'm not going to, I'm not going to sugarcoat shit, but I'm not going to be unfair. Tim Tebow couldn't throw the ball then. He can't throw the ball now. But he's being brought back into the NFL as a tight end, a position that he's never played at. A position you've never played, ever, truly played. And your professional level abilities for that, that is something that you can now get on a roster, even though you don't have any experience on a professional level as a tight end. Now you can be a tight end in the NFL. That doesn't make sense. And of course, you can look at it and say, well, there's different reasons why you bring somebody like him in. And I say to that, who cares? This is a production business. This is not about picking guys just because you're friends with them. Because I've seen that happen before in Jacksonville. And I said, you want to know what our record was that year? I think it was 5-11 or some shit. 5-12, something stupid. 5-11, I think it was. That was our first year with Gus Bradley. Gus Bradley came in as a first-year head coach, a guy who was a defense coordinator in Seattle. Gus Bradley, great guy. He has the attitude that you want for a coach. It's just he didn't really know what he was doing. So it was, he was young. He was inexperienced at the head coaching game. The head coaching game and the defense coordinator game and the coordinator game are two different things. Head coach has far more responsibilities. Head coach is dealing more from oversight, but also for the head coaches who are somewhat game planning gurus like what's his name in Kansas City, Andy Reid. He's going to run the offense too. So he has triple the amount of details that he has to deal with as compared to just your typical head coach. So, I just never felt like, especially in Jacksonville, I never felt like people really looked at Tim Tebow for his ability, they always fall onto this, oh, he wins games. He's, great for the locker room, things of that nature, which, again, there are some things that can translate. There are some things that can translate from college into the NFL from an intangible standpoint. Some things. But there has to be somewhat of a traditional structure to it so that it fits and so that it is actually feasible to the players in the locker room. Because, I look at it like this. If I'm in the locker room in Jacksonville right now and I'm an undrafted free agent tight end who is, 22, 23? And these guys sign Tim Tebow, a 33-year-old, 9 years out of football, never played tight end. A guy who, by all measures, was not a great quarterback. He had he had games where his intangibles overcame his lack of actual talent as a passer, which is fine. Take a win however you can get it. Nobody's mad at that. But this guy is signed to the team, a guy who is 10 years older than the rookie who's undrafted, and he's going to be getting reps in practice that this now third or maybe fourth string tight end will not get. He's going to be getting reps in preseason games. He's going to have, there is somebody who is younger, more athletic, more experienced at the position, and probably a better fit, who is going to be losing reps because Tim Tebow has been signed, and he's never even played tight end. He's never even played tight end. So that's really, like, at the end of the day, that is a locker room thing. That's something that players will have. Like, players will not look at him the same way that they look at other players. They won't. They won't. I've seen it. Like, there is, you still have to have your stripes in regards to what brought you to the team. How'd you get on the team? And the only thing you can look at with Tim Tebow, and the only reason he got signed to the Jaguars, is because he knows Urban Meyer. He knows Urban Meyer. Oh, alarm. He knows Urban Meyer. So he is being given the treatment that you give the good old boys. That's the kind of treatment that he's receiving right now because he's in with Urban. It's not because the Jaguars actually feel like he is something that will help create a better producing offense. That's just not the case. He's literally in the good old boys club. He called Urban. I mean, look, from a business standpoint, it makes sense. I ain't mad at that. From the business standpoint, that's going to be ticket sales for Jacksonville. That's going to be jersey sales. This is the crazy thing. If he makes the 53-man roster, I bet you his jersey will be the highest selling jersey on the Jaguars fucking merchandise. Like, he will be either selling more than Trevor Lawrence, or they'll be right dead heated tied neck and neck. Because that's how much the city of Jacksonville wants Tim Tebow. They've always wanted it. They've always wanted him. And that is where, again, if you're going to benefit on that end from a business side, then do it. Then say that's why you're doing it. Or at least don't act like that's not why you're doing it. I mean, I would absolutely be 100% fine with them saying, hey, you know what? He brings a certain energy to the city. We feel like having him in the city of Jacksonville where he's from is a great move so that he can actually help, keep them, he's going to help us sell tickets. Just say it. I mean, I'd be like, shit, get them tickets. We're about to fill this thing up. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to put him out there on kickoff return. He's going to be a fullback blocking on kickoff return. And you know what I mean? That's it. He's going to be the gunner, or he's going to be the up man on punt. I mean, that's for anybody else who's coming into football in the same way he's coming back to football. That is probably the best he can hope for as far as his role on the team, to be a special teams guy. That's it. That's it. Which isn't, hey, if that's your role, that's your role. We got a $5 super chat here. Canadian $5 from Benny Canuck. Uche, sending you some love because Drunk was talking too much smack about Canada during Mario Kart Sunday night. He was indeed. He was talking some smack. I feel you. And we got another $5 from Adoxographian. For $5, he says the locker room is going to look at him like the millionaire who wants to be QB in heaven, and heaven can't wait. The difference is that Tebow can't throw. Yeah, I mean, look, man. And, there are people who are going to say I'm hating. I'm hating on Tebow. I mean, I don't know if just being honest, is me being hateful, then shoot, just, I don't know what to tell you, man. Look, this guy there's no reason. Like, if he called the other 31 teams in the NFL and asked them for a tryout, are any of those teams going to give him a tryout? No. 100% no. There's no other team in the NFL that would have given this guy a tryout. Period. No other team in the NFL. This was the only scenario in which Tim Tebow could come back to the NFL. And it literally had to be this scenario. Urban Meyer, the coach he won the national title with, has been hired as the Jacksonville Jaguars head coach from the city that he grew up in. 50 miles down the road is Gainesville, Gainesville, Florida. Like, this is the only scenario in which that could happen, and you would, and a head coach would make that decision. They're not making this decision because they think he's going to make them a better team. Who can Tim Tebow go into the locker room and talk to and try and tell them that they should be to pick it up or to tighten up or to toughen up? Who is going to listen to you? This is not college. These are professional grown men who have families, who have been working their ass off. You are a guy who has not been in the NFL for almost 10 years, and you weren't good when you were here. And you're playing a position that you've never even played, which means you're actually worse. If this was Madden, your rating as a quarterback would be like a 67, and if I moved you to tight end, then your rating would drop down to like a 45. Like, that's where you are. You're like the 50 or 51st man on the 53-man roster. Who can you talk to and try to motivate? Who is going to take you serious? Nobody. Because we got here on our fucking own. We busted our ass to get here. We're doing it now. We've been doing it. There are guys who are going to get cut. There's somebody who got cut so that they could sign him. You know what I mean? Like, there's somebody who's going to get cut so that they can sign him. So it's ridiculous to think that this was some kind of strategic move for the betterment of the Jaguars, because it's not. It's clear as day for people who've been in locker rooms. This shit you hear these talking heads talking about, that's not how it works in the locker room. It's not how it works. It's not how it works. And then there is the whole, I mean, look, Tim Tebow has rubbed a lot of like his, and look, I don't blame him. But the essence of him, for some reason, rubs a lot of players the wrong way. And I think it's because he's kind of addicted to that limelight. He's always, I think, like, he plays that humility shit, which is fine, but he wants the limelight. He had a chance to go to a couple of different teams, and when he was asked where he wanted to go play, he wanted to go play in New York because of the market. That's what he said. He wanted to go play where the big market was because he couldn't let go of that dream. He sees himself in the same way he was in college. He sees himself as that in the NFL, which is, I mean, that's just not that, dude. It just don't work like that. Doesn't work like that. You rebuild your own the image of yourself again when you come into the NFL. You relearn football when you come into the NFL. You learn how to play professional football when you get to the NFL. In college, you learn how to play college football. You know what I mean? And that's where he was undisputed champion. Nobody can really argue with that. Nobody's going to argue with it. But that shit doesn't mean anything to an NFL player. Nothing. It means nothing to us. It means nothing to those guys in those locker room. They don't care what you did in college. None of them do. None of them do. Because that doesn't mean anything on this level. This is a whole different ball game. So, little rantish there, but hey, I think it's good, you know, that I kind of try to give you guys a clear perspective on this because, you know, fact of the matter is, I don't think he's going to even make the 53-man roster. But if he does, it won't be because of his talent. If he does, it will literally be the good old boys club. That's real shit. That's real. I seen that when I was in Dallas. How you think Jason Witten came back? But see, Jason Witten, at least he stayed at his position. You could use him. You know that he has experience there. You can trust in elements of his game because he's coming back as a tight end. But even with that, when him and Romo, good old boys club all day. All day. Romo got his homeboys on the practice field from high school, hanging out. You know what I mean? Like, come on. So let's look at what some of the players in the NFL are saying. Hope you guys can see that. We got a couple of players. I mean, these are guys who are known. This is a guy who, and Devin Bush, who has, I mean, he has clout in the league. He has clout in the league. Devin Bush says Tebow got a job before Kaepernick. Wait till we play Jacksonville. He said, wait till we see you suckers. Wait till we play Jacksonville. And look, I mean, there is that element that people are talking about as well. Well, you know, the whole Kaepernick thing. And no, I don't really buy that. I don't buy the Kaepernick thing because Kaepernick actually got a shot, an official shot. It wasn't on the best terms. It was low-key, it was slightly shady, but he got an opportunity to go and work out in front of multiple team scouts. He chose to undermine the entire process and that entire thing to hold his own little event. And the crazy thing about it is he did his own little workout at a high school, and one of the receivers who he was throwing to got signed the next week, got signed to a team. So, you know, it is what it is, but Kaepernick was showing that he could still throw a football. I mean, I would still take Kaepernick as a thrower over Tim Tebow 7 days out the week. I mean, hell, you can, if you put 20 or 30 pounds on Kaepernick, I'd take him at tight end. Put him in the slot. Shoot, who's going, I mean, he's 6'4". I mean, come on. But, you know, look, for the whole situation with Kaepernick had a shot. Kaepernick, you know, look, I feel how I understand how people feel when they say that, but Kaepernick had a shot and he said, fuck them, which, hey, I'm not saying that he was really totally wrong in doing that. They were trying to put him in a corner so that they could be done with them once and for all. And, you know, the NFL does not have workouts like that. They don't have workouts where you have every team like just like there to watch you do drills. And I mean, that's a weird dynamic because that's more like a college combine dynamic. Whereas really when you're dealing with a professional, you have him come to your facilities. You have him meet your coaches. You have him go through drills. Like, you actually take him through a recruitment when you do that. Like when I left Jacksonville, I went like the next day I went to Cincinnati and went and met with Marvin Lewis, went and met with, all their coaches, went and, walked the field, went into the stadium. Like then I went to Tennessee and I met with their coaches, walked through all their facilities. And, and then Dallas called. So it was like, there's an actual process that you go through. And they didn't do that with Kaepernick. And that was low-key a slight because they were trying to make it one day, one workout, pretty sure no team was going to grab him. And then it's done. They gave you what you wanted. It's done. So he pulled a stunt on them. He did. He pulled a publicity stunt on them to throw egg in their face for doing that. Anybody can have their own opinion on how they feel about that. But, he was still he was still training to play quarterback. He was not training to come in and play tight end. And he was not dealing with any coaches that he actually knew. He was just dealing with the NFL. So there were some differences there, but no, I don't see those as the same. And I wouldn't say that Kaepernick hadn't had a shot to get back in. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that because that would not be true. He did have a shot to get back in. He chose his response. That's on him. Now, Colin Kaepernick today, even with all of the things we know, all things, aside, Colin Kaepernick right now, in this very moment, in this very minute, is a more talented and NFL-ready player than Tim Tebow is right now. And I would sign, if there was even a possibility in a realistic scenario, which the Jaguars scenario for Tim Tebow is not a realistic scenario. That is a literal good old boy scenario. But in a regular setting, nobody would pick Tim Tebow over Colin Kaepernick. That is just a fact. Nobody's going to pick him right now in 2021. If you had to choose between those two guys, a guy who's 33 and has been out of the league for almost 9 years, who hasn't actually played a down in almost 9 years, and a quarterback who hasn't played in 4 or 5 years? But we've seen him in the last 3 years throw a football, and it looks fine. Doesn't look terrible. Doesn't look bad. Like, you can say what you want about Kaepernick and how he was playing when his entire situation started, but I mean, come on. Blaine Gabbert won a Super Bowl last year. Blaine Gabbert threw for a touchdown, I think, in one of their playoff games last year. Like, come on. Blaine Gabbert is a better quarterback 10 times out of 10 than Tim Tebow is. Would you sign him if you wanted to come back and play tight end? Because they're close to the same size. No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't even try. You wouldn't even consider it. You would not even consider putting this guy at tight end. He has size. He has size. But let's be real. I would take Colin Kaepernick as a quarterback and as a tight end over Tim Tebow every day. I would because, look, everybody looks back and says, oh, but Tim Tebow, he made that throw against Pittsburgh. Man, he threw a slant route against zero coverage. I mean, that's the same shit that the fucking Raiders and the Jets did last year, where the Jets actually cost themselves the first overall pick because they ran zero coverage on the last play of the game. So let's be real here for a second. He made the throw that he should have made. And then Demaryius Thomas ran for like 70 yards and actually avoided tackles. So, I mean, it wasn't like the throw was a bomb over the top and he just caught it jogging into the end zone. He literally caught the ball, stiff-armed the shit out of somebody, outran 2 players on the way to the end zone. And ironically, the Demaryius Thomas was in Jacksonville like 2 years later, and he was garbage. So, you tell me. I mean, I'm just connecting the dots here. That's all I'm doing. I'm connecting the dots. If you can't connect them, it's because you don't actually have that perspective that I do to connect them. Like, I've seen this. I've seen these things play out. I know how this is gonna go. Tebow couldn't beat out Mark Sanchez. He couldn't beat out butt fumble. And they even put him at tight end. They put him at H-back and let him motion across the formation. He couldn't catch the ball. The ball hit him in the head. The football hit him in the head. So, naturally, he's not a route runner. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do with him? What are you going to do with him? So, this is a great story, obviously. And we're going to look at a couple of videos here, a couple of reactions from Skip and Shannon. Because I thought that Shannon Sharp is speaking exactly how I'm thinking, because that's what us as players, that's what we know. That's what we already understand about the locker room. The dynamics of the locker room don't change. Dez Bryant, he says, so Tebow haven't played an NFL game in damn near a decade, and it's that simple. No hate, but you got to be kidding me. Good old boys club. Good old boys club. I mean, if this was like politics, that would be nepotism. If this was politics, it would be nepotism what Urban Meyer did. And again, and I'm not sitting here saying that Urban Meyer is not going to have any success in Jacksonville. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying I have a lot of concerns because I see him doing the same things that Gus Bradley did. He went and got that weight and training coach from Iowa who had said all that. He said the dude said some really out of line shit, some really shit a couple of times to a couple of players, and he didn't deny it. And Urban Meyer, because he knows this dude who got fired from Iowa, he signed him. Huh? And as soon as that was like put up, because I mean, look, no bullshit. I had a couple of ESPN people hit me up to ask me how I felt about that situation. And literally, as I finished the conversation with them, Urban Meyer had released a statement, the Jags had released a statement that they were letting the dude go because it was going to run on ESPN the next day on ESPN.com, the interview that they did with me. Because I told them how I felt about it. After I did my research and actually looked up what was going on, I told them how I felt. So it was going to be on ESPN.com the next day. And they released that dude that day. That evening, they fired him. Or they, terminated him. But Urban Meyer's bringing in guys that he knows. He's bringing in his friends. Man, I mean, last time I saw that kind of thing happening, it was a fucking nightmare of a season. It was like, golly. Is there, really anybody running this clown show? So, take a look at the chat here. Melissa Lord. Ooh, Melissa Lord, you all up in here. I bet Tebow makes a team and them Jags. I bet Tebow makes the team and them Jags win a few games. They would have lost without him. Okay. Okay, we should make a bet then. We should make a bet. Let's see here. Oh, man. Cap wanted to be a martyr, not have an NFL career at that point. To each their own. Yeah, I think that's pretty much sums it up. He wanted to go ahead and continue to lay on that sword. All right. Well, you can't complain no more. You can't say nothing else about it. He hasn't said anything about it since, which, hey, you got to respect that. He made his decision. and he shut his mouth. He made his decision, and then he shut his mouth. Yeah, he didn't come out and say nothing else about playing football. So, people may say it on here, but Cap ain't saying that. So, let's respect his decision, whether you agree with him or not. Respect that once he knew that he had clipped himself, that he stepped to the side and stayed, and stayed on, stayed at distance. Tim Tebow isn't a serious option. No, he's not. He is literal football nepotism. That is what he is. He is a nepotism hire. And I don't think that we're going to see, let me see. We'll take a look at their depth chart in a little while. Now, this I actually believe was an excellent and this was an excellent statement, I think, from Dez Bryant. For a few reasons, I'll explain after I read it. It says, I knew I would get your attention, so read this. Regarding my last post, I know it would cause controversy, and that was just to get your attention. This is not a slight at Tebow. I'm happy for Tebow and want to see everyone succeed. I'm saying wake up and see what goes on and take care of yours. Pay attention to what goes on around us and look deeper between the lines. This is why I preach unity in black society and taking care of us, lifting each other up. It's more than getting together and running routes and casually linking up. It's about truly connecting to build and create, controlling what we can control and building our community. And I think that's a huge, that's really, I wouldn't have expected that kind of statement to come out of Dez Bryant's mouth necessarily in that way, but he's making a hell of a point in saying that, because look at how Urban Meyer, because he's friends with Tim Tebow, he brings him on the team. It's nothing. He made it happen at the snap of a finger. Good old boys club. So, okay, they're going to have their good old boys club. Then we need to have minority and African-American players get into parts of the game where they can have that kind of authority. Head coaches, owners, GMs, players coming together and building up things together and creating more for us, because they doing it on their side. Shit, he got Tim Tebow just because he wanted to. Tim Tebow is of no strategic advantage for the Jacksonville Jaguars as a franchise outside of tickets and having known the cat. That's literally it. Other guys who've come back to the NFL after being off a couple years, I mean, shit, look at Alton, what is his name? He was with the Niners for a long time. He had a couple of run-ins with the law. Alton something, I forget his name. But this cat been out the game for, I think 3 seasons. And he came back to it as came back with the Cowboys and came back at Aldon Smith. Boom. Thank you, Jorge. Aldon Smith came back into the NFL and had to fucking bust ass and make the team, came back in his position, had only been out of the league 3 seasons though. Mike Vick, 2 years. These are guys who you knew were going to have a chance to come back. These are guys who you knew still had ball in them. They still could play, and they knew that, and it was really of them getting their shit together off the field so that they have a chance to come back into the game. There was no doubt that these guys could not play the game. There was no doubt about that. So it's really, it's not about, really what you can do when it comes to a situation like Tebow's. It's about who you know. Because they're willing to take somebody who hasn't been on the field in almost a decade and put them on their roster. For whatever reason that may be, it's not a reason that holds up for any other of the 30 to 31 NFL teams if he comes and asks them for the same opportunity that he went to the Jaguars with. That's clear as day. We can all see that. And I don't necessarily think that it's a terrible thing, but I mean, I think what makes it worse to me is the fact that it's the tight end, it's the position swap. Like, you're going to swap positions, but you've never played tight end ever. So how could you be a professional tight end? How? How could you be a professional tight end? So, you know, that's just my take on it as a player, because there's a lot. I mean, you're talking about a locker room full of alpha males. There is a lot in way of the proving grounds that he does not have. Even with what he's done in the past, that's so long ago that players that he's going to be in the locker room with, they won't accept that. That's not credential to them. Not enough for them to be like, oh yeah, you can stand up in front of me and preach to me how I should work harder in practice, or preach to me that we need to pick it up in the second half. You can't do that, motherfucker. You cannot do that. You don't have the clout in this room to do that with these guys. You know, so you have to understand that the culture itself doesn't allow for that type of thing. But it was an override by a coach who knew him, who's his friend, looked out for him. So I just think, hey, if that's how it's going to be played, then, you know, players, black athletes, whatever you want to call it, players should be doing the same thing for each other then. Players should be trying to create their own so that they have the ability to do that when they're in those positions of authority. So, because, I mean, nobody's going to say that it's against the rules for Urban Meyer to do that. It's not. He can do that if he wants. But if you do that, you're saying something about yourself and what you're trying to do with your team. That's where I think it comes into play. Now, let's take a look at this. Let you guys hear this. Because if y'all ain't believe it when I said it, maybe y'all will believe it when you hear Shannon Sharpe talk about it. But this is undisputed, and this is Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharpe reacting to a lot of this. Let's take a look at it. Okay, that's enough of that. Do want to look at. I think this is Ryan Clark. Let's look at what he has to say on this, because I think, again, this is another guy who's a player, another guy who played for a long time, and I mean, it's all relevant when players are able to kind of give you their 2 cents. It's all relevant. You got to understand it. You got to understand it. Let's take a look at the chat real quick before we jump into that one. Oh, Melissa Lord is going to war out here with you guys, huh? What is going on? Oh, man, Sharpe sucks. What? Shannon Sharpe is a Hall of Fame tight end. What are you talking about? Jacksonville tried to sign Tebow as a starting QB in 2013. He said no. Yeah. They tried to sign him. They were going to bring him in. They were going to bring him in with what's his name? With Bortles. With Bortles. Tebow had a Jacksonville offer. Yeah, he did. He had an offer. Like, it's really it's crazy. It's crazy. So, again, it really boils down to, in these situations when you talk to guys who actually have been on the field, I mean, what better information would you want to receive than that of players who've actually been there, players who've actually have had success, players who have had longevity. Like, Tim Tebow only played 3 years in the NFL. Only 3 years. Like, he barely got over the actual average. Like, the average is 2.8. He got 3. So, I played 7. Shannon Sharpe played 14. I mean, you think guys don't understand the dynamics in the locker room enough to know why certain things happen? Like, we know why this is happening. We do. We all know why. But let's see what Ryan Clark has to say about it.
Well, we shouldn't be discussing Tim Tebow in the NFL right now unless we're talking about ways that he's covering it, but that's different. And I'm not going to make jokes about that. Listen, if somebody would give me opportunity to do things that I may not deserve or may not be for me, I would still do them if I wanted them, or if I wanted to. But this is about Urban Meyer. This is about Urban Meyer and his friendships and his relationships and the way that relates to him doing his job. Think about his hiring of Chris Doe early on in his tenure, right? The guy that had been fired from Iowa for harassment, for mistreatment, for racist accusations against some of the players there at that school. Urban Meyer hires him not because he thinks he's necessarily best for the job or he thinks he's overcome some of those things that got him released from Iowa, but because he knew him. Right? Because in knowing him, he felt like he was a better man than some of the reports that we had heard. And Urban Meyer knowing him was enough. Just like Urban Meyer knowing Tim Tebow is enough. If I'm not mistaken, and I could be wrong here, I don't think the other 31 teams allowed Tim Tebow to work out as a tight end. I think less teams than the 31 teams that wouldn't allow Tim Tebow to work out would actually sign Tim Tebow. But Urban Meyer says, you know what? I know him. We have a relationship. That's my friend. I'm in a position of power, and that's enough. And so now if I'm in that locker room, if I'm a veteran, or if I'm a young safety, or if I'm a player on this team at all, I understand that us winning helps me get money. I play well, we win, I get money. We can't win when we're hiring our friends. I know a lot of good players and a lot of good people that refuse to let the dream go. The difference is the dream lets them go because they don't have friends that are hired to be the head coaches of teams. And so if I'm sitting in that locker room and I say, the best thing for me is for the Jacksonville Jaguars to be great, to have a head coach that puts the team above himself. This head coach ain't doing that. In the way that he hired his strength coach or his assistant, he wasn't doing that. And in the way that he's trying to find his new tight end, he isn't doing that. And as for me, if I'm a player in that locker room, that is not good for my career because this is my business. He's making it personal, and not personal in the way where we're going to pay you if you play well. Personal that if you're my friend, over qualifications, I'm willing to hire you, and that's an issue for me.
I mean, he ain't wrong. He ain't wrong. If you're looking at the situation, again, it boils down to he has not been brought onto the team with the same circumstances that every other player is brought on the team with. He is being brought on to the Jaguars in what is obviously a special situation. He's being brought on the team as a special hire, That's really what it is. There's no, how can you explain it any other way? He doesn't get that kind of look from any other team in the NFL. The Jaguars would not even consider him if Urban Meyer wasn't the coach. They would never even talk to him. That is really the point of it. That's really the point of it. But, look, the NFL is a business. It's a production business. And again, where do you put him? What is his real value as a player? Because he's not a quarterback anymore, which you could argue him at quarterback, he provides certainly more value as a quarterback than he does as a tight end. So, there's really not a situation there that he's more valuable as a tight end. He's actually less valuable because he's a tight end. So, this is a move that will definitely boost ticket sales. It will. They've already sold out, I think, for this season, for the first time in forever. Hell, I mean, dude, we weren't even selling out when we when we got 2 rounds deep in the playoffs. We came back the next year and we was having blackouts. Shoot, in 2008. So, I mean, that's good. Jacksonville is selling out. But let's not fool ourselves here. He is been brought onto this team He has been brought onto the team as strictly a player who knows the head coach, and he's in good graces with the head coach. Head coach allowed him to change his position, and he's on the team because of that. That's crazy though, but that's the way it is. That is the way it is. Let's hear what else they got to say here.
I'm going to try to look at this from a football perspective because tight end was a position the Jags really needed to address going into this offseason. When I was looking at the roster and the holes, that was something that jumped out to me, and they passed on the tight ends. Granted, half of them went to New England, but Jared Cook signed with the Chargers for $6 million. He would have been a great fit. They waited in the draft until the 5th round, so it was still an area of need for this offense, and frankly, it remains.
So we look at this. This is the start. These are the starters. These are your starters for the Jaguars. Where can you fit Tim Tebow in here? Obviously not on the O-line. He can't. He's not a receiver. We know that. This guy is, I don't know who he is, but you have to imagine that they're going to need somebody who can block, because tight end, at least in a lot of times that I've seen the Jaguars format or Jaguars schemes, the tight ends are blocking tight ends. I do not recall the last time since Mercedes Lewis that we had a tight end who had more than 5 touchdown catches. Mercedes had 11 or 10 one year. I think that was 2010 or 2011, something like that. But there's just nowhere in this where I look at it and I say, yeah, we put Tim Tebow right there, Tim Tebow, right there. We got Mexican Iron Man. What's up, man? How you doing? Been a minute. Hadn't seen you, bro. Mexican Iron Man from $14.99. Hell yeah, there we go. I agree 100%. Total ticket booster and no real legitimacy here, brother. You call it like you see it. Agreed. No, and I think, hey, I think that I'm being fair in my assessment. I'm not I'm not really knocking Tim Tebow for getting, I'm not knocking this guy for getting signed. I just want people to know that the reality of why he is being signed has nothing to do with his ability as a football player. The Greg for $5 says Waxonville embarrasses themselves once again. Long live Big Mac Daddy Jones and the Dynasty 2.0. Yeah, I just haven't had the best feelings about what I don't know. I don't get the vibe that the Jags are really ready for this move that they're going to have to make. I just don't feel it. I feel like Urban Meyer, and from what I've heard from people who are in Jacksonville, is that he's running. He's it's really he's trying to make it like a college program. It's really he's trying to kind of push more of that. He's the final say on everything, and he's kind of just bringing in his people. That's what I was told by somebody in Jacksonville, that he's just bringing in his people that he knows, and that's it. And I was told that a month ago when I did an interview for this for the hiring of the Iowa guy, the Iowa strength and conditioning coach. So, people in the media in Jacksonville and people who are near the organization, they're not 100% comfortable with how he's been doing it. You know, it doesn't really seem like it's fully coherent. But hey, we'll see. This wasn't coherent at all. This move was completely unnecessary, if we're just being honest. It was an unnecessary move to make. It really was. It really was an unnecessary move. They could have not done this at all, and nobody would have ever even given it a second thought. But, you know, hey, that's how it is. That's how it is. Good old boys club. Good old boys club. Let's take a look here at the chat. Now, tell me this. What time of day do you think is good for me to come on and do, you know, daily streams? Because I want to do daily streams, but I feel like in the off season, it's hard to find a lot of stuff to talk about just because it is the off season. And unless you get like something like this, like these more breaking news stories, it's really hard for me to just have something to talk about for an hour, at least an hour and a half every day. So if you guys are cool with this time, if you guys think, you know, that this is a good time to do daily streams or any other time, let me know in the chat and I'll try and figure out how I can turn this into a daily dose. Just because I feel like it's time to kind of make that move with the channel. So I see some 7 p.m., 7 to 9. 7 to 9, okay. Yeah, I think I can make that. I mean, that shouldn't be hard to do. See 3 to 4 in there. We got the Greg for $5. Okay, here we fucking go. Uche, fun fact: Tom Brady has as many Super Bowl rings as Jags have franchise playoff appearances. Well, that is actually something that I did not know, so I appreciate you laying down that fact here for us today, the Greg. Hey, and as many as you want to come up with, feel free to drop those in Super Chat, and I'll read them off. Okay, Mexican Iron Man says this is a good time slot, especially now that I'm going to be on the East Coast. Okay. Yeah, I was thinking noonish, like noon or 12:30, noon to 1:30, something like that would be a good daily run. It's a little hour and a half. What? Melissa Lord, Uche, Tebow has more playoff wins than them Jags since 2011. Lies. Tim Tebow won one playoff game and then got blew out right after that. And that was the last time he was in the playoffs. Jaguars, since 2011, we've been to an AFC championship game, which means we had to have won 2 playoff games, which we did. Somebody, Patrick says, Uche has the daytime television host vibe. Hell yeah. I can do daytime TV. That's what this is now. It's going to be daytime TV. Midday. Your midday news break. All right. So, just, I guess, really at the end of the day, to bring this whole thing full circle, we will obviously be paying more attention, paying attention as we get closer to training camp. I'm interested to see what Urban Meyer's plan really is moving forward, because I just don't know. I just don't know if he is. I just don't know if he's because I mean, look, you gotta look at it like this. Etienne, they drafted him in the first round with Trevor Lawrence, and their first statement about what his role was going to be was that he's going to be a third down back. That doesn't make sense. A third down back in the first round? What am I missing here? Like, that doesn't make sense. What are you going to do? You have 2 running backs already. You signed one in the offseason in Carlos Hyde. You got Robinson. I think James Robinson is his name. Undrafted free agent. I mean, when you talk about the diamond in the rough, this is the diamond in the rough. You get a undrafted running back who rushes for over 1,000 yards on a team that had 1 win. I mean, what do you need another running back for? For third down situations. I mean, that shows me that there's a lack of understanding of how to draft for what you need over the best thing out there. And again, Urban Meyer said it after they drafted Etienne. No, and of course, congratulations to Etienne. You got in the first round. Hey, they're going to give it to you, take it. But I'm looking at Urban Meyer. He's the one who said that he is only concerned with drafting the best available player in the draft. So then what are you going to do about all these spots where we ain't got nobody? We need a tight end. We ain't even draft one. I mean, all them draft picks. These are the same mistakes that I've seen coaches make. These are the same mistakes that I've seen coaches make, and it doesn't work on this level. You need NFL minds and an NFL, and you have to change your mindset on how to manage a team and how to build a team from what you were used to for 25 years in college, and now you are in the NFL where these things are so much more dynamic and they can change so much more quickly that you really need to have people who understand how to view the player pool, how to view the needs of the team, and how to make adjustments in order to fill those needs. Jens Jurgensen, we got you in here at Camp Body, new member to the channel. Appreciate you. Remember, if you'd like to join the channel, hit that join button down below. I'm going to start doing my live Twitch streams again here very soon and on YouTube. So I'll be trying to maybe grab somebody who's a member to play along with me. We did that before on Parsec. We played some All Pro Football 2K8, and hopefully we can play some NCAA revamped, college football revamped. I think that'd be cool to get in on those, get some of the members back into some of those more exclusive things. So, if you're interested, think about clicking that button down below. I think our lowest entry fee is $199 all the way up to $29 or $19.99. So, think about that. Anyways, I think that that we're just seeing a lot of he's doing things that I just don't. I don't think that those decisions are going to translate very well in the professional level. If they do, I would be surprised. But it really is it really does feel a little bit like deja vu in hearing some of those things. I'd be very interested to know who their coordinators are and who their position coaches are, because I know they got rid of Keenan McCardell, who was a receivers coach for them, which I mean, again, like, why would you not keep somebody who is an actual player who has had success coaching these receivers that have been the best thing for Jacksonville in recent memory? That position has been the best position on the team. Just doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. But I think we're going to bring this thing to a close here. Once again, I do appreciate all you guys for coming in here, being a part of this stream. You guys have been great. I've seen a lot of back and forth. It's good as long as we keep it respectful, as long as we keep it cheery enough. I don't mind people getting in heated debates and going back and forth. Just know that there are limits. Don't take things personal, and don't make things personal. Don't take things personal. Don't make things personal, because that is when shit gets ugly. So you guys done a heck of a job just hanging out and talking back and forth. And hey, you don't have to agree with my perspective on it. I'm just doing what I can to give you guys, a player's view, because I do understand the pecking order in the locker room, and how people in that space it's truly a proving ground. So things can get you can actually offend your teammates by being certain ways in the locker room if you're not a person who seemed to have that kind of clout. So we'll see how it plays out, though. I mean, we haven't even gotten into training camp yet. Still got months to go before training camp, and OTAs are what they're starting out with right now. So, we'll hear more. We'll see more as we go along. But I do appreciate you guys so much for being in here with me. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you share this. We will be back on tomorrow. I will give you guys the time. Actually, I'm going to put a poll on my Twitter, and I'm going to put a poll on the community page on the YouTube channel. So make sure you go check it. I'm going to put a poll on there and put some times down. You guys vote on that. Let me know what you think are the best times that we can do this daily, so that we can kind of get this thing going in a groove. But I guess until our next stream, hopefully tomorrow, appreciate y'all, and I will catch y'all then.